All right, you guys know we're getting closer and closer to the 2025 NFL season. And you know that because we've already gone through free agency. We got the draft out of the way. The rookies have come in and they've been hazed a little bit. But now, today, we have the 2025 schedule that's getting officially released at 8 p.m. But our New York Post Giants beat writer, Paul Schwartz, has got the inside scoop. So we can talk about this schedule release before it's official. Paul, thanks for hopping on with this, my man. I mean, how do you want to get into this, man? I'll let you run the show here. I mean, we got a schedule release. A lot of people are saying this is going to be a doom year for the Giants because of the strength and schedule, but I absolutely see opportunity within this schedule. What's your thoughts on it so far?
Well, look, Brandon, we've known for months who they're playing
Yep.
and where they're playing. We knew they were going to Vegas. We knew they were going to Denver. We knew they were, the division games. We knew all this, but I get it. I get it. I get it. Until you see it on paper, week 1, week 2, week 17, week 18, where's the bye? I get it. Until then, it's not really real. You just have a list of opponents, where they're playing home and away. It's kind of abstract. So I get it. We knew before this that this was going to be a very challenging 2025 for the Giants based on the opponents on their schedule. Now that it's written down and we see them, I don't poo-poo that and say, well, it's no different than it was yesterday. It is different because now we know on September 7th, they're going to be in Washington at 1 p.m. to play the Commanders. And now we know the rest of the schedule. So we can go down. I mean, my quick hot take on the schedule is that the first 4 games are incredibly demanding. Okay. Record of the first 4 teams last year were 45-23. Okay. And that's with one of them, the Cowboys, being under 500. And oh, by the way, a team the Giants never beat, especially in Dallas. And that's where they play them in week 2. So that 4 games is a grueling stretch. But you know what? You can circle 2 or 3 stretches of this schedule and say, man, I think that's the hardest. Because there's not a lot of easy games. There's some interesting road trips. Let's break it down. But we knew yesterday it was going to be demanding, and we know today it's going to be maybe even more demanding.
Yeah, I see opportunity for this team in those first 4 games that you're talking about. I see opportunity in those first 4 games for a guy like Russell Wilson. All eyes are going to be on Russ. If he is the Q, as all expected, he's going to be that quarterback one. When they line up September 7th at 1 p.m. against the Washington Commanders, it's going to be Russell Wilson versus Jaden Daniels. That's opportunity for him to, I guess, prolong himself as QB1 for as long as he's going to need to this season. I see him putting himself in a position or having to win a game like that, or at least be spectacular, be dangerous in a game like that in the first 4 games of the season, Paul, because he's going up against a Jaden Daniels, a Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, and a Justin Herbert. So those are 4 games for opportunity for Russell Wilson. It's 4 games of opportunity for this new Giants defense who looks great on paper. We had Drew Phillips in here in studio about a week or so ago, and he was talking about how the entire defense is looking at it, at the opportunity this year for them to be brilliant. He's saying Joe Shane put them in position to be brilliant this year. So that first 4 games, I know a lot of people are looking at it like, oh, the Giants could be 0-4 and they can have a new regime within the first four games, but that's just on paper. Everything right now is on paper. It's about lining
Brandon,
up and taking care of business.
Yeah, yep. when you look at it, oh no, the first game they're going to Washington. They should have beaten Washington last year in Washington.
Absolutely.
They should have beat, they had a chance to beat Washington twice. Now, Washington won 12 games. The Giants were not nearly as good as the Commanders. Jaden Daniels was sensational as a rookie. But in that second week of the season, the Giants lost their kicker, Graham Gano, on the opening kickoff. And then they lost by giving up no touchdowns and 7 field goals. And the Giants scored 3 touchdowns and scored 18 points. The punter missed an extra point, and then they tried 2-point conversions on the next 2, which Daniel Jones' passes failed because they didn't have a place kicker. I mean, that's silly stuff. That's high school stuff. That shouldn't happen. It was unfortunate, but it shouldn't happen. So, oh my gosh, why the schedule makers put him in Washington first? There's about 6 games on this schedule that I would have said That's harder than going to Washington. The Giants know Washington. They played Washington before. They've had some success at that, pretty crummy ballpark that the Commanders are going to replace, thankfully. So look, it's tough. It's a stretch, but you're right. They have Russell Wilson now. He's a veteran. He's been there, done that. How about this? Week 7, it's the Russell Wilson revenge game. If you win, they play at Denver in week 7. Look, if they had Pittsburgh on the schedule, it would have been a revenge game for Russ Wilson there against the Steelers. But, after a great decade with the Seahawks, he went to Denver. It went, famously bad. And now in week 7, he will be booed, I'm sure, loudly in Denver, week 7. Every week you can come up with a scenario in this league where there's intriguing, there's plot lines, there's storylines. It's all there. But yes, the first 4 games are tough. Then they go to New Orleans, which is the first quote unquote gimme on the schedule. Is Tyler Shuck going to be playing starting quarterback for the Saints? They don't have Carr anymore. We don't know. But last I checked, the Superdome is always a tough place to play. Yep. So the only thing I can guarantee about that game is there will be an excellent pregame meal for me Saturday night in New Orleans. Okay. There will be an excellent meal. I cannot predict what happens Sunday on the field, but shame on me if I can't find a good meal in the Big Easy.
Yeah. You're going to look at the players are looking at that game as a stat patter for their stats. That's a calorie patter right there, Paul. You might come back with some, with a couple extra LBSs on the body, but after that game, Paul, the next 4 after that are comparably monstrous as the first 4, because then you got Philly at home, you go on the road at Denver, like you said, then you go on the road to Philly, and then San Francisco comes back in. I think San Francisco may not be as strong as a team as they normally are, but again, it's all on paper. But I mean, Philly within the first 2 out of 3 weeks, and then going on the road to Denver, that's going to be a stretch. But again, opportunity, because when it comes to the Phillies and it comes to the Dallas Cowboys this year, they have to split that series with at least one of those teams. They have to beat the Cowboys at least once. They have to beat the Eagles at least once. And now, right off the jump, first 4 games, you got the Cowboys once, and then after that 5th game, 6 through 10, you have the Eagles twice. I think that's going to tell a lot about this football team. Not only how healthy do they come, how healthy do they make it out of training camp, but can they beat the Washingtons? Can you beat the Cowboys? And then these division opponents, they're going to have to, in those first, 10 games, you've got 4 divisional games. You've got to win. I feel like for confidence, you've got to split that at least and go 2-2. And then as you continue to go down, you got Chicago versus Green. You go to Chicago. Green Bay comes home. Then you go to Detroit, and then you're at New England. Whatever happens there, happens there. But Paul, I just feel like to have 4 division opponents in the first 10 games, that's the most important thing for this defense and its confidence, for the confidence and the fan base in Brian Dable, Joe Shane, and obviously whoever the quarterback situation is at that point in time.
Well, look, they can't beat the Cowboys. I think Dak Prescott's beaten them 13 consecutive starts. I think they've lost 8 straight in, is it 8 straight, maybe more at Lincoln Financial Field. So, in years past, you could always assume that the Giants could handle the Commanders, beat them once or maybe twice. That certainly is not an assumption we can make anymore. Of course, you have to make headway in your own division. I don't think that's a litmus test because they're not as good as the Eagles. Now the Cowboys, we don't know. The Cowboys went 7-10 last year. Are they, with Dak Prescott being hurt most of the year? Cowboys are better than the Giants. Look, everybody in the division is better than the Giants. We know that, but you also do have to win some games. Playing the Eagles twice in 3 weeks, as you mentioned, very challenging, but not impossible just because there's such familiarity there. We should mention 3 primetime games, which is not a lot. That's the fewest the Giants have had in years. Week 3, Sunday night football against the Chiefs. Taylor Swift, she's got maybe leaving her Soho digs to come see that game, to see her man friend Travis. Not a far trip.
She'll pick you up in the helicopter.
Yeah, no, I don't like helicopters. No, no, no. Although the helicopter might be better than me going on the Cross Bronx. Believe me, I can fly over the traffic. Then you have what? You have a Thursday night game against the Eagles. That's the second primetime game, and then Week 13, Monday Night Football at New England. Certainly a game that, on paper the Giants should be able to compete in. So that's not a lot. Of the 15 games that are scheduled, the last 2 weeks there's TBA. To be decided, TBD. We don't know the times yet. Now, we know near the end of the season, they can flex schedule with the times, but of the 15 games that have times assigned to them, 11 are 1 p.m. Now, from a beat writer point of view, that's golden. 11 games at 1 p.m., sign me up all the time. It's also good for the team. It's good for the team to play. If you ask the team, what do you want? You want Sunday at 1, right? You were a player, right? Sunday at 1 is your routine. Now, you like playing it on prime time. I get that. But you play prime time, then you play Thursday, then you get 10 days off. The best teams, that's why the Eagles and the Chiefs, these teams, they're always on prime time. They never have a normal Sunday to Sunday to Sunday 1 p.m. schedule. And the Patriots all those years with Belichick and Brady, prime time all the time, right? Or almost all the time. So for the Giants, you can see the expectations are low. The league, who loves putting the Giants on prime time because they get tremendous ratings, are like, we're holding back here. We don't think they're very good. They're only getting 3 primetime games. That's a pretty low amount since everyone gets a Thursday night game. So that tells you what the expectations are. And that's good for the Giants because, first of all, they're not good in prime time. And number 2, the more 1 o'clock games, the more of a routine Coach Brian Daboll can set for his team.
That's why I say there's opportunity here. It's a prove it year for everybody, for the regime, for the players, for Russell Wilson. It's a prove it year. The league is basically telling you with this schedule what they think about you and what they think your season is going to be. Now, was this something that Brian Daboll uses as a motivational tactic or inspiration? We don't know, but you shouldn't need something like this to be the inspiration going into the 2025 season. But when it comes to those 1 o'clock games as a player, yeah, you love it for the repetition and how you're used to it when it comes to your schedule, but your ego hates it because your ego wants to play on prime time. I don't want to score or have a 2 touchdown game at 1 p.m. and no one's watching because they have NFL Red Zone on. I want everybody to be watching at 8 p.m. on a Thursday night when we finally beat the Eagles, or you go head to head with the Eagles, have a big game that game, and maybe you lose, but maybe people start looking at the narrative when it comes to that football team, your football team. Maybe they start being like, oh, well, you know what? The Giants, they may have lost that game, but they took the Eagles to the end, when it comes to that. So the familiarity of the 1 p.m. games is good for schedule. My mom's flying in on Friday. I have the car service pick her up at X amount of time on Sunday. That's easy. You can book those tickets, but your ego and you wanting to be a star in this league and you wanted to be recognized for not only your individual talent and production, but also for your team. You want those Monday nights or those Thursday night primetime games. And now, again, it's another prove it type situation for this Giants football team.
A couple of other things. Late bye week. Late. Week 14. That's late. Okay. That is late. It comes after the Monday night game. So that's good because instead of having a Monday, Sunday game with one less day to prepare, they go, but it's December 7th, that's a bye week. So you have 13 games before that. So that's quite a long stretch, right? That's quite a long stretch with 3 preseason games and then 13 regular season games. Also, look, 2 days after Christmas, Vegas, baby, Las Vegas late. I like Las Vegas late from a weather and holiday point of view. It's kind of interesting. That's a good thing, Vegas late. You don't need Vegas when it's still warm here. You need Vegas when it's very cold here, which it will be December 27th. So that's an interesting game. And we have to remember the Giants, we talked about Russell Wilson and maybe a revenge game in week 7 at Denver. They have Jackson Dart on this team, right? And it's fun to kind of look now that we have this schedule and say, I wonder when he gets his first chance. Barring injury, I wonder when he gets his first chance. Is it week 15 after the bye week, right? And after the bye is always a very predictable time for a rookie quarterback to come in. Interesting. Maybe then. And also, I couldn't help notice, but the last game of the season is at home against the Cowboys. I don't know if you remember this. In 2004, Eli Manning, after 9 games, finally replaced Kurt Warner and had a really bad stretch, lost his first 6 starts. And the Eli Manning story really took hold in the last game of the season in 2004, where he engineered a comeback victory over the Cowboys at home, changing the play at the line of scrimmage, audibling to a run, handing the ball to Tiki Barber for the game-winning touchdown. It was that game where I know Tiki and a lot of those veterans said, you know what? This rookie had a lot of struggles, but we see something in this guy. And then the next year, Eli took off, and the Giants were a playoff team. So is Jackson Dart going to be starting that week 18 game against the Cowboys? Will he have proven himself before then? It's always interesting with a rookie quarterback, especially when you draft in the first round. Dart looked terrific in the rookie minicamp. We'll go easy with what that means. It doesn't mean a lot yet. Russell Wilson's a starter, but now we have an 18-week schedule in front of us to kind of figure out, wonder when Jackson Dart gets his first shot.
Yeah, and you're hoping for Russ's sake, because you never want to make that quarterback change unless you really have to. Remember, we've talked about this, and we said that how they would want to redshirt a Jackson Dart this year, but after seeing Brian Daboll, how giddy he is and how happy he was bouncing around at rookie camp, I mean, I could, without trying to look into it too much, it's almost looking at him and he's just like, I got my quarterback. I got me my guy. And that's what I'm saying. When I'm looking at this schedule, I can no longer look at it from a 2019 to 2024 lens, because the quarterback situation is completely different. So now looking at this team, looking at this schedule with Russell Wilson there, and then possibly a willing and able Jackson Dart, not saying he'd come in and just carve the league up right away, but if Brian Daboll can get something out of a Jackson Dart, if something were to happen to a Russell Wilson, then I'm still looking at this schedule like at least the Giants still have a chance to make the playoffs this season. So it's so many storylines within the schedule release that we could talk about, and what this means for the individual player, what it means for the team as in general. But I just don't feel like, after looking at the schedule, and like you said, we've known who they're going to play. We know it's the strongest schedule in the NFL. 8 teams that they're playing went to the playoffs in 2024. I still don't look at it like they're doomed, because I'm looking at it, this team, with the new lens on paper. Wrap this up, Paul.
They're not doomed. They knew what the schedule was. I would say playoffs, any kind of talk about that is incredibly premature, because, I don't know if they're a playoff team, and I don't know if this schedule would lend themselves to be a playoff team. A couple of things. Look, we didn't even mention Abdul Carter. Every game you could have some kind of a storyline. Abdul Carter, week 1, Jaden Daniels, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We need Abdul Carter to run around and not only sack Jaden Daniels, but maybe he can spy him a little bit too. So right away you have reason. Week 6 they play the Eagles. Abdul Carter grew up in the Philly area, in Philly, as an Eagles fan. That's his first time there. A lot of fun, right? What I would say about Jackson Dart and Russell Wilson is this: the longer Russell Wilson is on the field, the longer the Giants are playing decent football and contending. Yep. That's all there is to it. I mean, Giant fans could be really eager to see Jackson Dart, but if you see him in week 5, that means the Giants might be 0-4, or Russell Wilson got hurt, or something like that, which you don't want to see happen. They're not going to. Russell Wilson's on a 1-year contract. They're not going to stick with him if the season's lost and he's not playing well. So the longer Russell Wilson and as many games as he starts, the more he starts, the better it is for the Giants, because you have Jackson Dart waiting in the wings. In the past years, with Tyrod Taylor, with Drew Lock, with the other backups, that was not the case. They didn't want them to play. They wanted Daniel Jones to play. He's waiting in the wings. He's not idling. The Jackson Dart, SUV is not idling. It's not double parked. It's parked. It's not ready to go anywhere. But eventually, it's going to get out of that parking lot. It's going to start idling. The longer you can hold that off, the better it is for the Giants. we'll see. I like the schedule. I like when it comes out. It gives me a chance to figure out where I'm going to be, where the Giants are going to be, where I'm following them. What holidays I have to miss, what holidays I can be home for. Thank goodness I'm not missing Thanksgiving again, having to be in Dallas. I can be home. But and I'm sure the Giants players, I'm sure, are very interested in seeing where, when, how, and things like that. Look, it's schedule week. The NFL makes it crazy. This day is it's like a national holiday. By the way, the Knicks can clinch another playoff round tonight. That's more important than an NFL schedule. But this is a Giants, Blue Rush podcast. It's a video, and it's an interesting schedule, very demanding, and let's see if they can go 1-0 in week 1. That's all I'm really concerned about right now.
One quick follow-up to something you said. Week 2 for Abdul Carter down in Dallas. That's Abdul Carter versus Michael Parsons, battle of number 11 at Penn State. So that, again, that's going to be something to talk about when it comes to his storyline. And then with Jackson Dart, it was funny how you said that it's not idling, but it is double park, and them hazard lights are on. We can tell you that for sure, because that kid did look like he's getting it, or he's going to get it at some point. But obviously, I'm like you. We want to see Russell Wilson, or they want to see Russell Wilson play as long as they can, because that means that they're in contention. Things are going the right way, and that's what the Giants fan base definitely wants to see. They want to see meaningful football in late December, and that's what they deserve. You guys deserve more of these live streams from Blue Rush, so make sure you guys stay locked in with us all throughout OTAs. We'll be doing practice reports. You saw the one we did at the rookie camp, Paul. The people loved it, had great viewership, so we appreciate you guys always hanging out, checking out, and listening to our opinions on some Giants football. This was your Blue Rush live stream for what we call this, an inside look at the 2025 Giants schedule. I'm Brandon London, Paul Schwartz. We'll see you guys at another time.